Hey everyone, welcome back to our coverage of Fox's The Snake here on RHAP. We know reality TV. I'm, of course, Jenny, joined by my wonderful co host, Chappell.
Hey,
Hi, hi. How are we doing?
what's up?
How are we
Huh?
feeling? Episode
We're feeling
6.
good. We're feeling good, right? The snake.
Good.
We had 2 weeks in a row of the snake. That hasn't happened in a while.
Certainly, it's been at least a month since we've gone 2 in a row with no break.
Hmm.
So we're on an upward trajectory here, I'm feeling right now, both because 2 weeks in a row of episodes. I feel like we're getting back into a routine. That's great. And also, I feel like lots to dissect about this episode, lots of
Mm.
drama, a little spicy. I thought this was like kind of a best case scenario episode for us because things were stirred up and there is no resolution. Like with this boot, we're not taking any wind out of the sails and things can continue to percolate. So I'm feeling, obviously, like, it sucks for Christine. Let's get that out there.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it. But I think this result keeps a lot of things in play. So I think for the good of the game, we're eating a little bit right now.
Oh yeah. We could have lost somebody who was a bigger personality or a player or something like that, and we lost Christine, who really just didn't feel like she got her legs underneath her in the game. She didn't. She doesn't have any strong allies around, except for Cody, who's been gone since the day she showed up, essentially. Um, so it's been tough, and she really took this episode hard. She got
Yeah.
some hard truths were told about the way people felt about her and how they perceived her in the game, and they called her emotional. It was just like, I wanted her out of the game today, but mostly for her. It's like, okay,
Yes.
Christine, I think it's time to go home.
And that I fully agree with this because, you can see in this episode, she says it herself, like, these tears are real, and you can see her crying in confessionals, obviously,
Uh-huh.
so you know that it's not just for other people. I feel like we got some, like, unseen footage tonight for sure, like lots of flashing back.
Hmm.
You notice how, like, when they do like flashbacks, it's like everything's in black and white, but like they'll randomly give us the color of like someone's shirt or
I
something.
love that.
Have you
I actually
noticed that?
really
It
like
is,
it.
yeah, no, it's just like they just choose like one article to have color, and it's not always the same thing. It's like, I don't know, it's very fun. Um it's like, we got to let you know that this is not in the present. We're flashing back
Hmm.
here, but we'll give you like one piece of color here. So lots of, like, content from Christine, and I think that maybe gave a bit away because since Cody's been gone, because we obviously had the storyline of the Christine and Cody like showmance brewing, that didn't last long because Cody obviously gets eliminated, but not a lot of content from Christine since then. So when we get a little bit of a visibility spike here in episode 6 for Christine, you got to start looking at your watch and being like, okay, what's happening here? But clearly this is someone that, like, enters the game in a disadvantage when these other people came in at the same time under the same pretenses, build the relationships at day one, and this is someone who the one person that maybe could have helped them integrate to into other relationships goes. And I do think that we have to put some of this on Christine because maybe she wasn't doing a good enough job to try to integrate herself. But I do think that this was a best case scenario for the game and for Christine as a person.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. It really was.
Yeah.
This whole season, Christine has kind of just been like an afterthought to most of these people, but at best, they were talking trash about her. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is it. Good time to kind of pull the Christine puzzle, piece out of this mix and see what happens now. Like, does this crumble? Are we able to maneuver around? We talked about it before, and we really talked about how, like, for some people, Christine going away is very beneficial because it doesn't get any real blood on their hands. It doesn't draw a line in the sand in the same way like the bros were at war with the pastor and things like that. And so I think for a lot of people, Christine going is okay. But we really get to set the table for what is coming next week with the way the lines and alliances are drawn after Christine is now gone.
No, absolutely. Like, and the other thing, and I think that this kind of gets talked about in the strategy of this episode, is that like for some people, the longer that Christine is there, the longer people will use her as a means to force other people into the bottom, by you know, picking her earlier than you would maybe expect, and then throwing off the expected like chain of command or whatever. So not only is it good for, you know, people if they're the snake and they don't want to eliminate someone, or be, you know, implicit in or complicit in eliminating someone that they're not really ready to like get that blood on their hands. It's good for that reason, but it's also good for, it's like it takes out like a pawn situation where, you know, this person is going to be used to push you further to the bottom. So I think for those reasons, it's good for a lot of people's games. And yeah, I think that it all seems to be an interesting result as well. And we can get into this, that while the bottom two seems to be the intended bottom two for a lot of people's games here, it does kind of seem like maybe Jordan kind of threw people for a loop here by eliminating Christine over Mayor John here, who was definitely picking up a lot of a big target on his back by the end of this episode. I think it was already there, but it was very apparent.
But like, how did this happen? Not to say that it shouldn't have happened, but I really like to like listen to it, you know, at the end where they're talking about it and Catherine's throwing out this idea that Christine was talking trash, which we know probably did not happen. And then we have Jordan being like, Christine never came to her, didn't speak to her. And then when she found out Christine was talking shit, she didn't even like, she wasn't even able to talk to Christine for that point of view to like actually verify and save her either. So even if everything said about Christine was a lie, Christine never really advocated for herself in the eyes of Jordan. So it makes so much sense that she was the one sent home. On top of all of that, Derek is just such, I'm sorry, not Derek. John is just such a bigger target than she is. Like leaving her in the game really allows everybody to, I mean, leaving him in the game really allows everybody to focus on Mayor John and not look at her. You know, Christine is not doing her any favors in the game, whereas like somebody like Mayor John could definitely be a lightning rod to attract some attention and a possible ally in a way that Christine just doesn't seem like she was.
No, I fully agree. Like, I think that this is a no-brainer for Jordan. And also a lot of the narrative of this episode is everyone thinks that Jordan is extremely easy to manipulate, that she's not playing, you know, her own game, that you can kind of convince her to do whatever she wants. And it seems like there were probably people in her ear really pushing for it to be John over Christine. And you got to hand it to Jordan here, because John fully was, you know, whether it was genuine or not, and whether he was telling the truth or not, was, you know, talking to Jordan, trying to pitch, being like, hey, if I get saved, I'm choosing whoever you want, and like basically offering her some sort of deal. And apparently Christine was literally just not even speaking to Jordan. So good on Jordan for signaling to at least some people in the house that she's going to make the decision that's best for her. Now, part of what Chris or Jordan making the decision that is quote unquote best for her is also a big part of this episode and her relationship with Catherine. We got to talk about Catherine. Should we talk about Catherine now?
Oh, there's so much.
What do we do?
I do want to address Jordan coming down on this decision to let Christine go. I think it's a fine decision, but I don't know if like having Mayor John in the bottom two is good for her. You know, like I think that like to me, we haven't been given any indication that she cannot trust him, right? So I don't know, and we haven't really gotten a lot of indication of what Jordan wants to do aside from this episode. We know she was aligned with Alyssa and Frankie. You clocked a long time ago that her and Catherine had a really close relationship as well, and we will see that throughout this episode. But so like, I don't know if she made the right decision for herself or if it's the right decision that she landed on through being manipulated by other people. Because
that's the thing. Yeah.
I couldn't have foreseen Jordan letting John fall so low. This man is begging for allies. He showed up. He looked over at Christine, was like, not her. And then he's like, started trying to fight like his way back. He's not working with the bros. You have a strong alliance over there with McLean, Jack, and Brett. They are not wavering. They are always picking each other. They have yet to stray. And somehow you still managed to land on, well, maybe John. I don't know if it was like, I don't care if John's in the final two, I'm never picking him. Or if it's, yeah, well, I'll decide once I get there, whoever was with John, if I'm going to select him or not. And if it's Christine, then Christine will go. If it's John versus somebody else, I have to reevaluate it. I just don't know why John was in the number, but maybe there's some more information that we're missing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in the next episode we'll get a little bit more context about how we landed in the order that we landed in. Because I will say that, like, you know, as we're going through the safety ceremony or whatever, there were moments where I was like, oh, is Jack getting screwed here? But I do think that Jordan has a little bit of like plausible deniability with John ending up in the bottom, especially because she ultimately does save him. Because just because she didn't pick him first, that's like that's the one thing that she has control over. And obviously, I don't think that John should be expecting that of all the relationships that Jordan has in the game, she's going to put her, like, go out on a limb and pick him first. And I think that if anything, she can kind of toss that to Frankie and Alyssa, because there were lots of scenarios being discussed here. And this is part of why, you know, one of the scenarios was really going to have Frankie and Alyssa ending up a lot later in the chain, because there was fear about Frank picking John here. So I think that maybe that's something that Jordan can use to her defense, being like, hey, I knew that I wanted you to stay no matter what. Ultimately, it was best for me to be Christine. I thought that Frank would probably pick you. And so that part I wasn't really expecting, and you know, things went as they did. So I think that Jordan is fine, and also John kind of needs to work with anyone who is willing to work with him. So I do think that if this is something that Jordan wants to pursue, she can kind of repair this. But we'll have to see. I mean, John doesn't have that many options. No. Like, Frank didn't pick him. Frank and Alyssa wanted to work with him, and they did not pick him.
Did they want to work with him? Because Frankie is the first person. But he's one of the people who said, I don't trust him. He's a politician. You remember that? And so I'm like, I don't know if that's why. Because again, if they want to work with him, why are they allowing Jordan to pick him so late? You know, like I'm kind of like again, Jordan gets the ultimate call, so it doesn't matter if he's in the bottom two, if he's never going home there. But I don't know. It just felt to me like, okay, if y'all are aligned with him, you definitely aren't acting like it, and maybe that's the strategy. Who knows?
I truly think, you know, I do know that Frank did say this about John, but also a lot of people said this about John, and we don't really know. Like, I think that he's come around to John, especially after last episode, and we see him and Alyssa talk in this episode. It was like spliced in with, you know, discussion about like trying to get Christine and John into the bottom, and then cut to Frankie and Alyssa being like, I like John, like, I want to pick him. People don't like him because they can tell he's smart, and they're threatened by him. So, and I do feel like when we get to Frankie and his pick of Amanda, it does kind of seem like, you know, he's kind of feel like he looked pained in what he was doing. Like, he kind of just like, it's like you could tell that he was doing something that he like felt conflicted about. So I think that the way things shook out this week, in his perfect world, he wanted to keep Mayor John as a piece for him, but he probably started to see that, like, if he fought too hard for it, it was going to put him and Alyssa at risk. And he kind of just needed to like play ball with Jordan here. So I don't think that John is out of options here, but I think that you know, Frank and Alyssa are very socially savvy people, and they're picking up that, like, if they're going too much out of their way to try to like work with John in an obvious way, it could ruin their other connections. So I think that might be a little bit what's going on here.
I could definitely see that. I think
Yeah.
this works out perfectly for Jordan. I think she leaves a lot of threats in the house, and she gets rid of somebody who is a non-threat, you know. And so I think that the threats are going to go after each other before they go after Jordan. And so you know, John was spared, and maybe that will earn her some goodwill. But yeah, I just was very surprised, and I was also surprised at the outcome of our snake ceremony. I mean, of our snake competition, because who could have seen Jordan out of nowhere coming away with this
Yeah.
win?
Yeah. But this is great. I love the last episode was definitely had like a physical component to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we see some of the most physical men do really well. And then I love these little kind of not equalizers, because I think that this draws on a certain skill set, and also we get every challenge, it kind of is like involving some sort of fear. It's very Fear Factory. We've had cockroaches,
Yes, Fear Factor.
you know, we had the snakes, and tonight we are in coffins, and we're bringing in the claustrophobia of it all, but with a riddle. So you have like, a mental comp, and also with kind of just like who wants it the most, like, and also nails. I
Yeah. Oh my
really want
God.
to talk about this because I know that like sometimes the challenges aren't the most interesting thing, and God knows in most cases I'm blacking the fuck out during challenges. I have no idea what's going on unless it's for a show I'm actually covering.
Mm-hmm.
And then even sometimes I don't know what's happening. But I do think that this one was like, I would love to talk about it because there are all these coffins that have windows, and the windows have black paint on them,
Mm-hmm.
and written on the windows in black ink is some sort of riddle. And from within the coffin, which were all marked with like "Here lies like the makeup artist," or
Mm-hmm.
they have to use their fingernails to scrape away the black paint to reveal the riddle, which is eventually going to be a 5-letter word to do a combination lock here. This is wild. The
Uh,
scraping, the
the
scrape,
scraping.
that,
The,
ugh.
I would have just opted out, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't the scratching. It just uh I don't know if
Yuck.
it's the neuro stuff that I got going on, but like the moment I start scratching stuff too much and things get on my nails, I'm out. Just like I'm fine.
No,
I don't need this. I don't need to
I
win
think
this
it is a
game.
little bit of that, but
Yeah, I was
I
like,
think
I'm a
that
texture guy.
I too am, and I'm a sound person, and I'm grateful that like they, how in these shows they always over exaggerate the sound effects of things.
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe I was like protecting myself, and it was worse than I felt like it was, but I do feel like I was preparing myself for the sound of the scratching to be worse than it was, because I find that to be absolutely abhorrent. Like I am like, oh, disgusting. But yeah, the thought of not only like breaking my nails, but like the sound,
Blah.
and oh yeah,
Yeah.
this actually probably would, and this would piss me off because the riddle thing would be like the thing that I'd be like, oh, I can maybe do this. Like for me to have to go through the nail stuff, and also the claustrophobia part, I don't think I'd be really keen on that part. To get through, not a big fan. And I feel bad because like what a disadvantage if you like just cut, like Mayor John says, oh, I'm pissed, I just cut my nails.
Blah.
Like I can't tell who is in the best place to do this, because like is it someone like me that has long nails?
Yes. Definitively. Because if you have no nails or if they're really short,
But
then what
maybe
are you doing?
like maybe just like enough that like
Just enough. Mm-hmm.
just enough, because I almost feel like, cuz mine are like kind of pointy, right? So
Uh,
like I mean, I almost
are they
feel like
fragile?
they're pretty strong because I've got gel on top of them as well. So it's like it creates like an extra. It is all my nail, but like there's gel
Yeah.
on top of it, makes it stronger. Um, but I guarantee you, I would be breaking nails trying to do this, or I would just not and be like this. not worth it to me. Because I would have to hear the noise.
See,
and
it's
feel
funny.
the sensation of paint under my nails. Ugh.
The fingernail part would bother me. I ain't gonna lie to you. Comma, but the sound, oh no. That's not this could never be my ministry. I am an ASMR guy, okay? If
You're a freak.
you get to
With all love,
what?
you are a
I mean,
freak.
listen. I didn't know I was a freak until ASMR became a thing. Like, it got really popular in the last few years, and then it kind of went away. Because now, anytime like there's a sound, it doesn't. Oh God, I'm trying to explain this
without scratching your brain, eh?
Yeah, it's like it goes up my spine.
I was gonna say it tickles your spine,
and it goes like it's completely uncomfortable, and then it just goes woo, and I like it. So like for me, like nails on a chalkboard, the initial nail on chalkboard, like the first step, I'm like, oh, I hate this, and then 2 seconds later, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You know what? This all actually lines up with everything I know about what a little freak you are.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's like it's something when my ears get to going, it's like, ooh, I don't even smoke cigarettes, but Jenny,
you feel you need it.
Okay. Like I just kind of twitched a little bit. Dear God. Okay, change the subject.
You heard it here, folks. Okay, Chappell has a weird thing for unpleasant sounds.
It's not unpleasant. It's just sounds.
Well, like just sounds in general. Like sounds, that's your any sounds. No,
but like no, there's so. No, I think that it's kind of like every sound is bad until it's not. And then it's like, now that could be instantly.
It's a pain for pleasure thing is what's happening here. Is like, it starts off unpleasant and then you're like, maybe unpleasant is also kind of pleasant.
It's like those people who enjoy getting tattoos. It's like, yeah, it hurts. Yes.
Yeah.
But also,
gets the blood
the sensation of it is kind of like, all right, whatever. That's how I feel like that was unpleasant, but do it again. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know this was gonna be about me. I didn't know it was gonna be.
I'm very appreciative of it. I love when we always get to open up and share things about ourselves here. Feel like I've grown closer to you.
Of all the podcasters, you and I have overshared with each other way more than everybody else. So there's definitely a lot of inside jokes at this point where I'm like, oh God, I hope Jenny is in this. Because I'm like, Jenny knows the answer to this question already.
And yet we're still sharing. We're still finding little things to pull out.
I just didn't know it was a thing. I thought we all really liked awful sounds after like 2 seconds of it being awful.
Listen, I know that there are other people that are probably relating to this, but so you're not alone. But you are a little bit of a freak. You're a little bit of a freak. And that's okay.
Can I make another confession? You know what really bothers people? When they're on the airplane and they can hear like kids screaming or crying and stuff like that on an airplane.
Oh boy. You like that?
It doesn't bother me in the slightest. The way kids crying will go through my ear and out the other, like music. Like this doesn't, I mean, screaming, but like, I just like real tears bother me. Like if you are having an emotional moment and trying to connect with me, I'm like, I don't want this. But like,
that's more about the meaning and the feeling than the sound, right?
But just white noise in the background, scream, cry, throw up, I don't care. Like that just just doesn't do anything. So
is
like
it a high frequency thing? Like the screeching, the crying, is it more like that? Would like a low wailing upset you because it's more it seems more sad?
No, because I even watched those like ADHD little ball videos where they put the hot metal ball on top of stuff and it burns through stuff.
Yeah.
And I watched like the hydraulic pump videos and stuff like that. Like, but I could watch them without looking at them. Like I just the sound of like I'll take
need
it.
That.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm just like, oh yes. Like okay. We're off subject.
No, this is interesting to me. Listen, like by now, if you've made it 6 episodes in, if this is your first foray into a Jenny and Chappell podcast, welcome, and I'm sorry. But we're also here for the tangents. This is what happens when you have two ADHD squirrels like us that are also just a little too much sometimes.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
But yeah, I'm the complete opposite. Sounds really bother me. I think I do not like the texture thing. But I think I could persevere through that. But if I could hear the sound of my own nails against that glass,
yeah,
that would be tough. That would be a hard mind over matter thing for me. I didn't get a look at Jordan's nails, but I feel like the best situation is like you have enough nail that it's past your finger, like they're not cut super short, but they're still rounded. They're still you still have like enough surface area to like get, because you need there to be enough of the surface area at the tip of your nail to get like some good scrape out of the way. Anyway, so Jordan is gonna win this with the answer to the riddle, which was the word dirty. We should talk quickly about what happened with Derek. So Derek, our snake from last week, as predicted. Well, we talked about it last week. We were trying to figure out what Devontae would do. You really wanted him to disadvantage Catherine.
Well, that's the more interesting move, I would say. He did not do the more interesting move. He bored me.
Yeah. He takes a shot at Derek, which is like kind of funny because Derek's kind of just like slid into his position in the house, but I mean not fully, but we'll talk about that. So Derek's gonna get a disadvantage, and I was very confused because I was like, did I miss something? Because I felt like prior to the challenge starting, it was not revealed to us what the disadvantage was, and then it seemed to be that the disadvantage was not revealed to Derek either. Like he had to go into this not knowing what his disadvantage was.
Yeah, which is crazy because he was in there. Well, because he was in there scratching, like, I just got to get the riddle. And then he's like, well, damn, where is the riddle? And he's still scratching. He's like, oh, shit, I do have it at disadvantage. Like, damn, I probably would have yelled out, like, hey, could everybody else see the riddle? Because I can't.
Yeah, what did they do? They just moved each other.
But did they just like move it away from him? Like, what is?
And this is the other thing. I don't know.
I think the riddle was like, for most people, it was like in two lines. But for him, it was like one part was here and the other part was like over there. And he wouldn't have known to gotta search for it because it wasn't in the same spot. I think everybody assumed that like you're reading that the lines are close to each other. Whereas he probably had to look, I think it was up. He had to look up at the top or whatever.
Yeah.
And he had started in the middle. So I think it was
a
naturally disadvantage.
You would start in the middle. I think that in a lot of cases, you think that like, okay, start revealing something and then work outwards. And this poor guy, he was going at it too. Like he was making progress. And then he had just revealed this like completely empty part of the glass in the center. So it wasn't obvious to me how close the two lines were for everyone else. But for Derek, in the very least, it seemed that his was at like one line at the very, very top and one line at the very, very bottom, and then like a big empty space in the middle. So that obviously made him waste a lot of time. So I did think that it was interesting that they did not explain to us what the disadvantage was, because we at least knew going into the challenge last week what Derek's advantage was in that challenge. So I was like, so it's like a disadvantage is you get a disadvantage and also you don't know what the disadvantage is. It's like a double disadvantage. It's like you don't even get to plan around it.
Right. This was fine. I think I like the reveal, where Derek realizes halfway through he got the disadvantage. So I think I don't have a huge issue with them not telling us.
I'm surprised that Derek, and maybe he asked and they just didn't show Jim saying like, you'll have to find out. Because we do get the reveal from Jim, before the challenge that Devontae disadvantaged him, and also that he made a point to tell Jim to tell Derek, eat shit, Derek. To which I first of all, I love that we got the flashback proving that this is what Devontae said. because we saw the scene between Devontae and Jim. I love that Jim delivers, make sure to deliver, because how many times do things like this happen? And it's like, it never, they're not going to say anything. A lot of hosts are not going to like get involved in like that sort of thing but Jim Jeffries, he's like, yeah, no, I'm going to make sure to pass along the message, Devontae, that you want Derek to eat shit. Sounds like a great moment. And he does it. And Derek, he takes it well. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah. There was no like real personal beef between
No.
Devontae and Derek. They just were on two different sides of the house and have been gunning for each other. But it seemed like it's all fun. Deep down, Derek wanted to be a bro. He had been dying to be in that position. He was stuck with the pastor who was not good for his game. Again, shout out to my pastor, miss him so much.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not like he's always wanted to be in that position. And we saw in this episode, because of his proximity to Brett, look at that. Like Derek is out here playing nice with Jack and all kinds of stuff. And so it's like, yeah, he's dying to get that target on his back because he likes working out with the bros. That's his thing. Him and Brett, like these are his people. He's disguised as like I got the pastor's back. But in reality, now the pastor's gone, Devontae's gone, he can hang out with his real friends.
I mean, I feel like I kind of said this last week. I was like, is Derek just going to kind of slide into where Devontae's spot is and be like, listen, what's the point of doing a 2 versus 1? Like, they're not even sides anymore. Like, let's work together against these middling people. It's so funny, though, the way that you're describing that, because I know that when we had our like premiere episode, I was saying that Derek was like, the not necessarily the love child of Derek Levasseur and Jeff Schroeder from Big Brother, because he definitely still does give Jeff Schroeder in his appearance and his voice, but it's just funny because it's Detective Derek, and it's like in BB16, Derek was a detective, like undercover, like trying to be like just this young bro guy, like, or he's like wearing that, he was wearing the beanie and stuff, and it's like in this instance, yes, Derek is a detective, but he truly wants to be a bro, and it's like now he's able to like take off the disguise and be the bro. It's like the reverse Derek Levasseur.
Really,
the bro is the true part of him.
yeah, he finally got it. But I don't want to get too far away from the challenge because Jordan does win this. She answers the question about the riddle. It was like do you have the riddle written down? I'm sure.
Yeah, it was okay, if anyone stands in your way, this is the type of game you might play.
Right, this is not a riddle. You can't just say any question is a riddle. This is not
anything's a riddle if you want it to be. Apparently.
I don't know what the definition of riddle is, but this to me is not a riddle. This is a question.
Is it because it rhymes? It kind of rhymes.
It does,
but
rhyme.
It's not.
I'll give you that. But this is this a
riddle? Okay, here's the thing. Another show that I have podcasted about and that I've been lucky enough to have you on, our beloved Claim to Fame. They would do the riddle challenge with the telephone game, and that was a riddle where like you've got Kevin Jonas on the phone, like delivering each. That was a limerick. Okay, so now I'm getting everything. It was a limerick.
Yes.
So what's a riddle, I guess? Okay. Oh man, now I'm actually fucked up.
I changed my mind because the definition of a riddle, via Google, is a question or statement intentionally phrased as to require ingenuity or ascertaining its meaning, typically presented as a game or having a double meaning. And at first I was like, this isn't a riddle. It's just the answer to your question. Your question is like, how would you play the game if somebody was standing in your way? It's like, you could play dirty, right? You could play a fair game, but it had to be 5 letters. So I think that counts as like part of the gamifying of this. And it just hit me. Was dirty like some type of like reference to the fact that they were buried underground?
Oh, I didn't even think of that
And that's what I'm
part.
saying, Jenny. Bro.
Okay.
Again, if
Okay.
y'all want it, if you watch the snake for the strategy, this is not the place for you to be. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, if you wanted somebody who already knew that, Taryn, I'm sure was talking about his stream. You go to him.
If Taryn had time to watch the snake, he could explain this quicker.
I was 7 minutes ago years old when I realized that dirty was probably a reference to the fact that they were buried underground under
They
the
were
dirt.
in, yeah. I was just
I'm
like,
just about to go. Actually, Jenny, you can have it now. Like, I
don't,
don't
don't
know.
don't be embarrassed. I'm here. I'm here with you. I'm
No,
supporting you. Chappell,
no.
we're in this together. Come back. You can't
Uh-uh.
leave me like this. We're a
Bull. What?
team.
Why? I
We
want to still be underground, Jenny.
we're blindfolded. We're like one of those teams that like is like handcuffed, blindfolded in the woods, left for dead. But we are a team. We did commit to this together. You cannot leave me.
I've been complaining about this in my mind since the moment I saw this. I was like, there's no way that this is a riddle. It's just a question about how people play the game. And then I was
Yeah.
like,
See,
dirty. It went right above my head.
see, I just thought that it was like it was, they were trying to like go over your head in that like, oh, there what kind of game would you play? And like you're gonna be focused on like what is a game? Like what are
Oh,
games?
yeah.
And instead it's about like, no, you would play a dirty game because someone was stood in your way and then you got to get back at them or whatever. So I thought that that was like the layer of it. I didn't even consider the reference to them being in the coffin.
In the dirt.
So in the dirt.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And they weren't technically buried. They were just in
No,
the
they were above
coffin.
ground.
They told them they were buried alive, but they weren't. And so that's why it didn't occur to me that dirty could be a
Yeah.
reference to being under
Their nails
the
are
dirt.
certainly dirty after
Absolutely.
this.
That little window that they were looking through was dirty. You
Yeah,
know,
that would piss me off. It was
I'm
black
mad.
paint. Imagine you you're just got black paint under your nails and then you have to spend the next few hours getting that out from underneath there. And you didn't even win.
However,
Piss
if
me
they'd
off.
given me any type of tool, even if it's
Oh
like
yeah.
just a penny, I would have been in heaven. Just as long
What
as
if
I
you
don't have
had
to
a
touch it.
necklace?
No, because I was looking. They made Jordan take her ring off. I was
Okay.
looking.
Okay.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
noticed she had a ring on in the confessional, and then when she
Oh
was on the ground,
wow.
she did not have it on. I was like, oh,
Observant
they.
king.
Well, because my first thought was like, I can't physically do this with my fingers. I wonder if there's
Yeah.
like, could you use like a ring? And the first person they showed was Jordan, and she does have a ring. And so I don't know
Okay.
if that's her wedding ring or she's married or something like that. But there's no way I wouldn't like flip that bad boy over
Tried
and
something, yeah.
try to start
Yeah.
scratching it. So I'm pretty sure they made them get rid of all foreign objects.
That's smart. But how pissed are you if you're like, okay, yeah, we're trying to make it fair by making sure that no one can use like jewelry to do this. But like, what happens if like, a lot of people keep their nails very short?
Uh
Um, what a like you have no shot.
huh.
Like they should have. I don't know. I don't really know how to solve this. And maybe it doesn't need to be solved because just sometimes there's just going to be challenges that are just not going to work for some people. And
Yeah.
let's be happy that this favors someone that maybe would not be favored in a lot of other challenges. That's fine. But what a piss off. You're like, I don't even know what to do with this. I am
No.
physically incapable. I do not have the nails to scratch this off. Could you go at it with your teeth if you could reach your like disgusting thought, first of all, but
No.
I
Just
don't
no.
even know angularly if you could do that.
I don't think so. I think it's
Yeah.
like it's just like
I'm like
no.
trying to like move my head to like
Yeah.
imagine if I could
Yeah.
reach my face to the glass, how I would even accomplish that.
Yeah. No. I don't think it's possible. I
Yeah.
think you kind of have to take that L.
But this made a really good result because I as much as we've enjoyed the back and forth of the Derek and Pastor Jacob when he was here and like the bros back and forth. I think that we needed something else to happen here and not just have these two sides go back and forth at each other. And we get someone who's kind of not been a big name in the game get some power. It's like the week that Alyssa got power. Like we weren't really expecting that. She was someone who didn't really need to get blood on her hands. And we get this with Jordan becoming the snake here, because a lot of people felt really good about her. And this gives her a lot of anxiety, this decision. Like, she was very stressed out through this whole this whole episode, trying to decide how she was going to make this decision.
Yeah. A lot of people thought they could just manipulate her and make her do whatever they wanted. And so, at first she wasn't quite wise to that. We see her relationship with Catherine is very public. We get a lot of feedback about how people feel about Catherine, and it is not great. If this woman thought she was undercover playing these games, I think it lasted a couple weeks, and it is now over. Nobody trusts her at all, except for Jordan, who pretty much trusts her, implicitly. And so I was like, yeah, this is crazy. I don't have a real issue with that from Jordan's point of view, but it's funny that Catherine is kind of like, she's in her full wolf mode at this point. She's like, I gotta sink my teeth into this person, and I gotta do this, and I'm gonna portray this person. Like, she's all the way in. I think she needs to go harder. I think at this point, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You need to be cutting throats and slashing tires on the way out. I just really thought it was entertaining. She still is. This is not a criticism to her at all. I think this is like, turn it up. Because I do think that everybody knows who you are at this point. You need to win power, maybe make you some allies or something like that, or solidify some allies, because nobody believes anything she says. We will see Jack try to go influence. We'll see Jack try to go influence Jordan. A lot of people do. And if they probably would have got away with it too, if it wasn't for this other crate we get, Jenny.
Yes. I loved this. Okay, when we get through the challenge pretty early in the episode, I'm like, what's happening here? And I totally forgot that we got somewhat of a preview of this at the end of the last episode, that there was going to be some sort of like revealing of what people were saying. Jim comes to deliver another crate, and he's basically saying, last night you were buried alive, and today you're going to be buried right here. And that, you've all had a lot to say about each other, and the crate is a speaker, and he's going to play clips of people in the house talking about each other. However, the voices are all going to be distorted, so you're not going to be able to figure out exactly who is saying it. But I feel like we should talk about this, because there's a level of process of elimination, and also because the voice that comes out of this speaker, it's giving the BB-27 mastermind, first of all.
Okay.
Right?
I definitely,
it's the same voice.
Once you start distorting sounds and stuff like that, you have my attention. So I was kind of like, oh yeah, turn that up.
Chappell was turned on this entire episode is what I'm finding out.
I said that, but it's like, what was it? It was something like, John is a dangerous player. I was like,
say it about me now. Now do me.
No comment.
Okay, so again, we've learned a little something about.
We have learned
he loves the mastermind.
I love distorted sounds sometimes.
Yeah, so this, listen, I know separate companies, but this maybe all distorted voices just end up sounding like this. But I do feel like maybe it's just because it's front of mind. It was giving the BB-27 mastermind these distorted voices. But so it was helpful for us, the viewers, because they would play the beginning of it distorted, and then it would like trail off into the actual confessional in the person's voice with a little photo or like a video of them in the bottom from the confessional it was from. So you were able to see who had actually said that. I think there were a couple we didn't end up seeing who said it, which I thought was interesting. But I do wonder, first of all, the types of things being said, you can probably use like deductive reasoning on maybe like the people that wouldn't have said this or wouldn't have made sense to come from them. So you might be able to narrow things down a little bit, but also like you still have things like cadence, the way, like the kinds of words that people use, like filler words. Like, I don't know. I just really think that it's not distorting does help, but you can't eliminate all indicators of who might have said this.
Right, but
What
I
do you
think it's
think?
hard to tap in on that kind of stuff. You know, you and I talk all the time, and so I could
Yeah.
definitely pick your voice out of a lineup anytime. You know,
You think
I
if
just
it was
know
masterminded, you could get it? Yeah.
between you and I think we could both pick each other. But
Yeah.
these people, I
Okay.
don't think so. I don't think that they've been
Okay.
focusing in that much. Don't get me wrong. I
They
do
haven't
think they're
podcasted hours upon hours upon hours with each other.
right, right, and listen to other hours of them podcasting
Of them
without us.
doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So no,
True.
I think that there's them there, but I think we are uniquely equipped to kind of like suss
Okay.
that kind of stuff out. Because I also think that show probably did a good job of just picking things that were probably a little innocuous in the as far as like where they came from.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff that was said was kind of cutting. You know, I want to start with. Can I just start with McLean?
Let's go.
Girl, what are you talking about? McLean is like the biggest enigma to me because she says, I don't like Christine. I don't like Christine, and she doesn't have the stability to play this game. And then I think it's Brett says her tears are fake, and is that other? First of all, McLean, stability to play this game for the first 2 episodes, you were down bad. Yeah. I do not want to hear anybody else talking about who has stability or whatever when your stability came in the shape of this showman's, and everybody in the house has basically just like major game, just a story of being Jack's tag along. I was like, it was just such a cutting statement to make. Like, I don't like Christine. Like, what did she do to you?
Yeah, no, that I will say, like, and again, this speaks to why we're on the same page of being like, Christine being eliminated here is ultimately what's best for Christine, because these people did not want to give her a chance. But it makes me like ask, what did she do to the way that some of them spoke about her was just so confusing. The vitriol that they held, and it's like, it can't just be because she came in late, you know what I mean, that they didn't get to know her as well. But you're right about what you're saying with McLean being, of all people, someone that is calling this out, because it's like, I mean, McLean, you and Christine were kind of doing the same thing as just like her showman's boo. Yeah. Didn't work out. He got eliminated. I don't know. Yeah, I'm very, very puzzled by like what happened. I don't know. I guess Christine had been crying a lot because we get this montage of all of these tears, and then people seem to think that it was all for show. I don't know if people thought that she was like playing up this so that people would feel bad about eliminating her, and they thought that that was like for strategy. I don't know.
I got nothing. It just, to me, just like it just felt like, I won't say unnecessary because everybody's allowed to say whatever they want,
right? And it's a confessional.
Me, yeah, whatever. Yeah, to me, it just felt like coming from McLean of all people, like that's kind of rich.
Yeah, it's rich. Yeah,
like you've been where she's at, you know, like a little empathy. But then again, that's what I'm saying. Something must have happened because, like, I don't like Christine. Is crazy. You know, I think like I don't want to work with her in the game. I haven't bonded with her. Blah blah blah. That's one thing, but there's obviously rumors about things Christine is saying about people that is percolating throughout the house. I thought Catherine was just lying when she later on will say, like, I heard you call me and Jordan fake bitches or whatever she said. And now I'm like, well, did you? You know, like,
Christine didn't even really deny that, which is wild. We're gonna have to ask her when we talk to her tomorrow.
Oh, so did you or did you not call them fake bitches?
Yeah, that's like my number one question.
Opening question.
Because I wonder, you know, we don't get we got lots of flashbacks in this episode. We don't get any proof of what John is telling Jordan here about Christine going after Catherine and Jordan. But when it gets called out at the end, it doesn't even seem like she's really denying that.
No.
So I gotta know what happened. I gotta know what happened. But yeah, it is strange coming from Mac, because Mac seems like a very like chill person. You know, obviously she's got her thing going on with Jack, but it seems like she's trying to get along with a lot of people here. And for her to just be straight up like, I don't like Christine. Like, oh shit, okay. But I you know, we can kind of like talk about some of the big storylines of I thought this was a very, very interesting segment. What a nightmare. Imagine like, you know, you're on a reality show, you're recording confessionals, you're like, okay, this is the time where I can really let loose, say some really scathing things about my competitors. Obviously you're talking to production that is trying to like get these thoughts out of you, and whether they're real, right, for a lot of these people, like these are things that they feel, but they're gonna say them in like the most, you know, enthusiastic and
Entertaining
exaggerated
ways.
way. Yeah,
Exactly. It's for
for
TV.
TV. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want good effing TV? Yes, we do, of course. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine doing all of this. Like, imagine now Catherine was already in a hot ass water by
Yeah,
this
dear
point. So
God.
I'm not like, you can't blame this challenge if you're Catherine. That was already, you were already drowning at this point. But imagine like being that level of scathing in your confessionals, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're gonna play all of this, where you're just like, oh my god, I never imagined that any of this would come out. But there's like so there's a few different themes here, and I want to get your take, Chappell, on like, who do you think this was the worst for, in terms of, obviously like people had their feelings hurt, but whose game was this worse for? Because the first person that gets stuff said, one of the first people that gets stuff said about them is Derek, and a lot of the things that were just about Derek was that he's public enemy number one because he's incredibly smart, he's a mastermind, blah blah blah. And then we get this like shirtless confessional from Derek. Did you notice?
He wants to be the bro so bad.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like but he's like, he got lots of compliments, and he's realizing, he's like, oh shit, actually people were pretty nice to me. I don't think that's so good for me.
I know his wife is at home rolling her eyes because I know his ego is like through the roof right now. He's got like his shirt and his confessionals, and he's like the biggest mastermind, blah blah blah. I know she's at home like, ugh.
He's really feeling himself.
Here he is now. Like, put a shirt on.
He's just gonna be unbearable from here on.
She's also probably his biggest cheerleader too. So like in a way, she's like, she wants him to do well, but then at the same time, she's like, but now I have to hear about it.
Yeah.
Like,
now I have to hear about how well he's done. And now there's this montage of people saying that he's so good at the game, and then him rolling up to his confessional with no shirt on. He's got a fresh tan, the biceps popping.
Go off, Derek. Live your life, king.
I mean, this is like the reason that Jacob could never get Derek to fill him in on plans any earlier, is because Derek actually was just out like broing out with Brett, pumping iron the entire time. This was actually the problem.
Probably, yeah. He's like, deep down, he wanted the passer to go. We're keen to your game now, Derek.
We see it.
Yeah.
We saw. I mean, it's worked out pretty well for him so far. But yeah, and then we got like some other, you know, comments about Amanda, like, again, you know, comments about how she's incredibly manipulative, that she's one of the most dangerous players in the game. And again, Amanda acknowledges and says, you know what?
They're right.
They're kind of right.
Yeah, but I think this is bad for Amanda. I think we have been watching it through the lens of like, look at Amanda doing the subtle moves, you know, making sure. Like now people are like, nah, I think she really pissed off Brett. Brett's like, nah, she embarrassed my boy.
I know.
And so he's like, nah, I ain't never gonna let nobody forget how Amanda did us. So this isn't the greatest outcome for her, I think.
He woke up with a chip on his shoulder. Like, he was really pissed off about what she did. And you know, one of these scathing remarks was from Brett himself. I will say, Brett was spared. Or whatever was said about Brett was not remarkable enough to make the edit, because I'm looking through my notes here to remind myself, there was nothing about Brett. Brett was featured. He said things about other people, but we did not get to see what anyone said about Brett.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Yeah, that's it.
I think
Nobody
he's the
said
only one
anything.
though.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we nothing him. You know,
which is like
I
perhaps the worst thing.
right. It's bad for an edit, but like as far as like in the game, like I'm sure they said something and they just cut it out.
Yeah. What if it's like really mean to the point where they couldn't even air it?
Right. They're like, someone said, and we look over to Catherine and she's like, like, sorry.
Like
Yeah,
they can't even bleep those words on TV.
if anybody said it, it was Catherine. We know that for sure.
Well, we yeah, for sure. But then we obviously, another person. So there seems to like be like different versions of like what was said about people. So you had the people that were like, this person's dangerous, like you got to watch out for him. And that was like, your Derek's, your Amanda, John. A lot of people were saying like, don't like his vibe. He's very dangerous. He's very intelligent. Even in a positive sense, like, there was the confessional from Frank about John. He's again kind of putting heat on him for being like super intelligent, someone that people want to pick up. That's not great either. And then Jack, obviously people are talking about Jack. And then you have like the people that were getting a lot of like the more emotional stuff where people are like, they're not strategic, they're being used, they don't know what they're doing in the game. Your Jordans, your Alyssa, your Frank, and Frank really takes some of these comments hard, even though some of them I don't feel like was really bad. It was like that he didn't have like a mean bone in his body, which I'm like, I think is true. He's not a mean person.
Well, yeah, someone said "aw" when they said that, and so like I don't think he took that personally, but it was just kind of like the Catherine words really what got to him. I think he was just saying like Alyssa has no strategy, and she's like her and Frank are just like getting manipulated, and people are kind of like just using them as pawns basically. And so he does end up tearing up and saying like, if you think I'm stupid, just leave me alone. And I don't know. I agree with Frankie on that one. Like, if you don't, no, I'm the type of person like, hey, if you don't rock with me, it's okay. I don't need any more friends. I don't need any of that. But at the same time, like Frankie, you cannot say cutting things about people and then get your feelings hurt when people say cutting things about you. Frankie said Jack is a wolf in sheep's clothing and he's sinister. If someone called Frankie sinister, he'd be crying.
For sure.
So it's like, hey, you can't dish it out if you can't take it. Now, I definitely. We love Frankie here. We love Frankie here. So I don't think this is awful for Frankie at all. Because again, no one said he's a big threat. Like a couple episodes ago, they were saying he was a threat. And now it doesn't really seem like that's the read of the house. We know as a pair, him and Alyssa are a threat. They get that. But aside from that, they think Alyssa has no strategy. She says she's ready to show them she's not a dumb blonde, but she's a smart blonde. We know she has like a degree. It was it in chemistry or something like that?
I think it was chemical engineering.
Chemical engineering. So we know that these two people are very intelligent and socially aware. And so I don't think this is bad for their game. I think it's just kind of hurt.
Yeah. And honestly, their reaction to it maybe helps as well, where it's like, because people emotionally react when you hit a nerve that feels real to them, where it's like something that maybe they've been self-conscious about or have heard a lot of feedback about, and it's kind of like a sticking point for them. So I think the fact that they reacted the way they did to those comments, more so Frank than Alyssa, because Alyssa kind of did like, I don't care what these people think at the end of the day. I know who I am. But she did seem bothered. Like she said that, but you could tell her she was like a little bit like, okay, whatever, like this kind of hurt my feelings, but screw you guys. So I think that helps like reinforce maybe people's opinions of them and lowers that threat level, because like the Jack was one of the people that said like one of the worst, I guess, quote unquote, worst things about Frankie, but like it wasn't even that bad. It's like he goes from saying like that Frankie and Alyssa are the only, and this is where I'm like, context clues, the only other true power duo who will ride and die together until they die. Like I think that when you hear that, you're thinking, okay, this is clearly coming from someone who has a very obvious like two, and maybe there's enough of that in the house that they feel like it's not as clear. But like, I think that you got to be looking at like a Jack or a Mac in that, just from how that is phrased. But then he goes on to say, like, I don't think he has a mean feeling bone in his body, and then that he's clearly a pawn in everyone else's game. So it's like they went from being like these people are a threat, but also they're not a threat. Like, it was, I don't know. I think that for two people who are very dangerous in the game, while it sucks to hear things that kind of hurt your feelings and to hear that people don't take you seriously, in the grand scheme of things, maybe that's great for them right now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think this is like, it was hard to hear, but I think they're fine. I think all of them are fine. I think the people who should be the most concerned about the things that were said about them is Catherine, because people have outlined that this lady is not trustworthy at all. Like, no one has anything nice to say about her at all at this point. I think Jordan likes her, and that's it. And I think she's done a lot of good work to make sure that Jordan likes her, but I think she's running out of runway. She should definitely be concerned. I also think Jack McLean, it's clear y'all are a pair. What are we going to do about that? And then I think Amanda is another person that, like, people saying how dangerous you are makes it look like, I mean, if you're in the bottom two, why wouldn't they cut you in exchange for somebody like someone who is less connected or less threatening? If I got to choose between Jordan and Amanda, I'm picking Jordan to stay. It's just like, why wouldn't I? We just talked about how dangerous she is in the game. So I think for a few of them, it really stood out. It's like these people, Derek included, should be targeted. And for a few of them, it felt like, these people don't take you seriously, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like I was saying before, like the things that were said about Catherine were definitely like the worst about game stuff too, because it's like, glazing Derek or Amanda as like really dangerous, like good players, like is bad for their game. Obviously, it puts a target on them. But like the things that are said about Catherine are like that she's like the least trustworthy person, that she's like clearly playing both sides, like, she's a liar. Like those are bad for your game and like bad things about your game. So it's really the worst that could be said about her. But these things were already being said going into like this, multiple people were saying this and coming onto it. Like you said, Jordan's really the only person vouching for Catherine at this point. I really am trying to figure out, where is the point where Catherine lost Frankie and Alyssa? Because I feel like she was obviously, not as in with them as they are with each other, obviously. And then we've kind of talked about how like those four were four, and I was saying like it's Jordan and Catherine together, and it's Frank and Alyssa, but they're kind of like a four together. Like, was Catherine always kind of like on the outs, and they were kind of always had their eye on her, being like, I don't know, but Jordan really likes her and trusts her, so let's keep her at arm's length? Or did something happen in one of these previous, because she's been messy, like last week she promised several people she was going to save them and then didn't do any of this, the back and forth with Pastor Jacob when he gets eliminated. Like, what do you think was the point where she really started to lose those two?
I think she was never their third. I think it was always Jordan. I think that she was trying to become their third. Yeah, I think she was trying to become their fourth. And while doing that, she put a lot of eyes on herself. Like she betrayed the bros, and they're not going to be quiet about it. It's not like she was doing this stuff and nobody was talking about it. Like, I'm sure Jack was telling anybody who would listen, like, didn't Catherine say she was going to save such and such? They saw her betray. They saw her betray the convict and not pick him. And so they're probably like, what is that about? And then this last episode, she lied to somebody pretty publicly. She keeps getting called out publicly. She also in the altercation between the pastor, Derek, and Catherine and the bros, Frankie and Alyssa could tell. Like, Frankie kept saying, like, it looks like Derek's telling the truth. Which by proxy,
but that was also against the bros. So I was like,
with them.
Right. Yeah. So it was like, I trying to figure out if that was part of it, where it was like, she's implicated here, or was it more so like, yeah,
I think it's all of kind of chipping away together. Yeah, I think it's all of it together.
This is the first we hear him, like, Frank, he literally says in confessional in this episode, like, she's playing both sides, like, we can't trust her, like.
Yeah, he said she like Mrs. Potato Head. She just keeps changing her appearance for whoever talks to her. And I think it's obvious. She's a clear floater, and so she's going to where the power is whenever she can.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
in this house, it's very easy to see who those people are. Like when Jordan wins, they eat everybody comments like, "Oh, and here comes Catherine to get up under
Yeah.
like Jordan." Like they knew it was coming, and so I think it's someone who's loyal
Slumber
to
party.
right. Someone who's loyal to everybody is loyal to nobody. And I think that
Exactly.
it's very clear. And when people start talking about who's going to pick who, I think every time they get to Catherine, there's probably a little bit of hesitation. So it's very clear that I think her game is public at this point. The question is, can she navigate it despite all eyes being on her?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because again, we're getting like the two sides of Catherine here where she, throughout this episode, especially like before and after this challenge, acknowledges that it's really bad for her and that a lot of people like she's gonna have to do a ton of damage control. But then we also get like the switch gets flipped, and then she's like, I think I can still win. I can still beat all these people. Like I can manipulate all these people. It's like she's acknowledging like how deep she's gotten herself, but it's almost like she feeds off of like the more lies and shit that she's getting like potentially caught in. It's like that drives her to keep go, like I don't know, it's like we're just feeding delusions at this point, and quite honestly it's like incredible television.
Yep, loving it. Sorry, like even when they get ready to do the snake ceremony, and they're like, "All right, we're about to go do the snake ceremony, but the saving ceremony. I'm sorry, but the weather's bad, so we're gonna come
Yeah.
back in the morning." And everybody's like, "Ugh, now Catherine's gonna get one more night with her." Like it's just like
Yeah.
everybody can tell what's gonna happen. Like, okay, we know Catherine's sleeping in the lair, and of course she does. And her and Jordan are up strategizing. It's like, all right, you talk about power couples and things of that nature, but if I think Catherine's proximity to Jordan is really making them look like it's an attractive pair to split up as well. And I think that if you have to split them up, I think Jordan surviving against Catherine in the bottom two every time.
Yeah, that's the thing is like if you're Catherine, you almost need to start attaching yourself to someone who is a little bit more of a lightning rod than Jordan,
But she's
because
burnt all those people,
that's what I'm saying. I was like, God, I feel like you'd really benefit from having a Devonte around right now.
Right?
Like,
Who you lied
I
about?
mean,
you know?
just saying. Um, Now we get uh a little, we saw this segment of people trying to get Jordan's ear. We obviously heard through the challenge that a lot of people feel like Jordan is easy, is malleable, is someone that they could kind of make do their own bidding. But then we also see like, her trying to navigate these conversations with her knowing that people have this perception of her. And I thought, the conversations with Derek were really interesting. Derek obviously goes to the bros, to Jack and Brett, who he's now in with, being like, "Hey, I've got a plan. I'm going to talk to Jordan. I think I'm going to I'm going to come up with something where it's going to get the two new people in the bottom and we're going to be okay." And it seems like this ends up working. Maybe he doesn't, because Derek outlines the exact order in which he thinks that the snake chain should go, and this is also with Frank and Alyssa in the room, and this is where he goes through it, and he had Jordan picking Catherine first because that's what we are expecting here. But in this scenario, Frank and Alyssa are the last two to be saved before the bottom two, and that gets them a little bit worried. And so while the order ends up getting a little shaken up in the actual way that things go, it does feel like, Jordan does end up doing what Derek wanted. However, in Jordan's discussion about who she was considering targeting here, and she's talking about like, oh, I keep going back and forth, and like maybe John, or maybe she does mention, she's like, even Derek for a little bit I was considering. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, was this just a little bit just to keep us thinking in a couple different directions? Because I don't know, like what's the thing with Derek and Jordan? Is it just that like she's maybe more in with the bros than Derek? Like,
No,
Because
no.
she listened to him.
I think people are afraid of targeting the bros. I think
Right.
that when you go to Jordan, you can easily sway her to target like John or Christine or even Derek because they don't have anybody else. I
Yeah.
think that Derek was seemingly left out on an island after the pastor went away. He's working his way in with the bros. But if I'm trying to make it through squeaky clean and go back to hiding in the middle, yeah, take out Derek. Who's going to avenge Derek for you? You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
who's the one
Yeah.
who's like, all right, like Jack and McClain, like you go to them and say, hey, I'll get rid of Derek. I know y'all hate him. Like I think there's definitely ways that if you were trying to play the middle, but you won the snake, there are people that you could pick off in John, Christine. I think Derek is one of those people.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's why I think Derek goes to her with the plan to make sure it's John and Christine because he knew he was very likely a third option.
Yeah, and that's definitely like a best case scenario for him. I mean, I know we said that uh John could be a piece for Derek to pick up, but it's almost like he's realized that like maybe the better option for him is nothing brings people together like a common enemy. And
Uh
we see him go to Jack and Brett and be like, listen, this guy John, he's gonna get all the girls on his side, he's gonna get Frankie on his side, and then we're effed. And so it's almost like that's become the better play for him here. Obviously partially because of the scenario of who is in power here. But it's like, hey, instead of trying to use John as a number to get out Jack and Brett, let me appeal to Jack and Brett by being like, hey, we all don't want this guy.
yeah.
um, and I mean, it could continue to work. I'm curious, like, how long do you think Derek and Jack and Brett can continue kind of like the ceasefire? Like, do you think that this is more than like a one round deal? And not that it seemed like they made a formal deal, but it seems like they at least put their differences aside here. Or do they still
Uh
feel like they need to? Because I mean, Brett was pissed about Devontae going home, but he was like more mad at Catherine and Amanda, not so much Derek for just targeting him. Understandably, though.
yeah. I stand by what I said about the fact that like Derek would be unwise to trust those bros when they're in
Yeah.
power.
Mm,
But as long as they're not in power, I think they can work together. I think that Derek
yep.
has no reason to target them. He just can't allow them to target him. And so that would be unfortunate. Now he starts shooting at them, they're gonna shoot back, and it's one against three. So that's not wise. So I think for him, a ceasefire is ideal. But I
Hmm.
think that like if he's ever in power, he cannot not target them. Like I think he has to make sure that one at least Jack and McClain are split up. I think Brett would even respect that at some point. Like you're like, hey, I know you're good with them, but there's no reason we can have the two of them in the game. Neither one of them is picking you over the other one. I think you can kind of like make that happen. But I don't think they have to shoot at each other immediately because the big threat has emerged, and I think how are not all like our eyes not on Catherine next week. Like I just think that if you
Yeah.
want to win power, take somebody out with getting minimal blood on your hand, who nobody is going to go out of their way to save. I think Catherine is the one.
I mean, you're right in that, like, everyone feels, except for Jordan, burned by her in some way or feels like they can't trust her. But I still think that we have to pay attention to the fact that multiple people were really hoping that John was going to be the one that gets cut here. And
Mm,
I don't think, while Catherine has lost a lot of people, um, she still has Jordan at this point very firmly, and people don't seem to want to disrupt Jordan and what Jordan wants. So that is something. Whereas I don't see that John has that sort of. He doesn't have one solid relationship, and so if you have enough people that are like wanting to target you and you don't have a one person that will ride or die for you, that's a dangerous situation. So I do sort of feel like, just based on how this went, that even though the heat is on Catherine in a big way, I definitely see a world where John is still the bigger target in front of her.
yeah, yeah. It would be tough because, but it's like in a way, Catherine's the target is so big that it's disappeared. It's like
Yeah.
we all know that she's like
The
the
devil,
crazy one.
you know.
Yeah, she's the devil. We know, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like I could target her and get away with it, and nobody would cry. But also,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. I see a world where you like with John, you're like, okay, that's a bigger impact move because people do trust John and maybe he can get some momentum. But I personally just wouldn't, because with Catherine, you can't trust her word from day to day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
nobody can count on her to vote any situation. So you don't want to put yourself in a world where you are relying on her. I think you can rely
Yeah.
on John to some extent. You can never rely on Catherine.
Which I think is why, obviously it makes sense for Jordan to pick Catherine, but like, is there a strategy to having, like, if you don't trust Catherine, but you don't necessarily want her to be the person that goes next, and it's like you got your eye on her, but you like don't fully want her to know that you've like figured out, because I feel like that's what a lot of people are doing. It's like they've clocked her, but they don't want her to know that they've clocked her. Is it a good strategy to just pick her as early, make sure she's picked as early as possible so that her chaotic ass picks um have the least impact possible, because it's so early that like perhaps you can get the train back on the
Back on
tracks.
the tracks. Yeah, I think you just target Catherine to get her out of here. I just don't know. Like, to me, I
Yeah.
think you're playing with fire. You know,
No,
at
I
that point,
agree.
like you pick Catherine over your number one ally, and then guess what's gonna happen? Your number one ally is going home. You know, like I think
Yeah.
that she's a blockbuster. You don't want nobody in like the her wake.
Yeah.
If you risk saving Catherine to make like a big move at the expense of somebody that you are actually aligned with and can trust, I think that is unwise.
Yeah, and we're getting down to fewer people, so the less people available, the scarier it becomes to put any sort of power in her hands, because yeah, if there's enough people, and she's early enough in the chain, what she ends up doing doesn't necessarily like ruin everything. But that becomes more impactful the less people that are available. So yeah, I think I get it until this point, but you're gonna run out of time to really make this move, if and you could lose allies in the meantime if you give her any room to be chaotic. But again, I love that she we see her promise multiple people. She promised Christine for some reason. She's
Mhm.
telling the boys she was gonna save them. She gets the first save. Jordan picks her first, and she she goes to Alyssa, and get the back and forth with Christine.
Mhm.
I mean, she continues to stay messy.
We
Um,
love her.
yeah, but I mean, what would this show be without her?
No, this is elite casting.
Yeah.
Very Fox reality channel casting in the
Hmm.
show. It's a fun cotton candy show. I've been enjoying talking about it with you.
Yeah, I've had a great time. I've also enjoyed, like, have you noticed like the music? Like they have like a couple like songs that like get repeated for like certain things. Baby, you
Yeah.
can save me.
Yeah.
Baby, you can save me.
About.
I'm enjoying the soundtrack. It's just like, I don't know. There's just something about this show that feels like campy, nostalgic, early reality TV. When like we first started doing like the serious kind of like strategic
Mhm.
stuff. But yeah. Anyway, I think we've covered what happened here.
Yeah.
I like I said, I'm very happy that everything is still brewing. The piece that gets taken out here is inconsequential for the rest of the game. And so I'm looking forward to seeing who do you want to see be the snake next? What do you think?
I
What do
don't.
you think's good?
I don't know. I don't know. I need a little drama. Let's see
Yeah.
when we see what Catherine would do. That would be fun
Mm,
because, quite frankly, I'd have to bet
correct.
that Christine going out here means that there's probably going to be a punishment for Catherine.
Yeah, I think so. I have to imagine. Or do you think that like Christine is such a gentle like soul that's
No,
been misunderstood, that she like, do you think that she's like so out of touch with like how bad John was dogging her, that she's like, John was in the bottom with me. He also like couldn't get his footing because he
that would
came
be
in late. Like,
nice.
I need to give him an advantage. I fully can see that being a thing. When meanwhile, he's been like potentially planting fake things about her, talking shit about other people that gets her eliminated. Like,
Yeah, I think Catherine made that up, but I can't prove it. But I definitely think that I think I could see her advantaging John for sure. Because he told us that he didn't want anything to do with her in the game. But I
she
like
doesn't know that.
based on the way they were hugging on the way out, like it felt like maybe that they were, because they were standing arm in arm when it was time to get eliminated. It felt like there was some type of like warm feelings toward each other
Yeah,
on a
and he's a
personal level.
politician. This is
Yeah.
all we heard in this episode is, "Oh, that's a great politician answer, like John. He's a politician. He knows how to tell you what you want to hear." So, I mean, I fully can believe that Christine had absolutely no idea how little John wanted to do with her in this game, and how he was like basically, running the bus over her. So it should be interesting to see who she picks. But yeah, if she disadvantages Catherine, woo. But I think that for entertainment and drama and chaos, a Catherine Snake run it back, but with way more heat now. That could be,
Uh-huh.
what the hell is she gonna do?
Yeah.
I will say I don't think that that's what's going to happen, because I do feel like we saw in the preview there's like something about Catherine telling someone that that's going to be the biggest mistake in their game. I don't think that she's saying that if she has any sort of power. But we'll have to see next week what happens. Is Catherine going to make it another week? Can't wait to see what happens next. Anyway, we will be back next week with episode 7, and we'll be back with an exit interview tomorrow with Christine. And maybe we'll get some answers to some of these questions. Find out what she had said about some of these people. Maybe she has some idea why some of these people were not vibing with her or not. But in the meantime, Chappell, what else do you have going on?
Check me out on my YouTube page, youtube.com/@recapkickback, because Chantel and I are going live on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern to talk about Flavor of Love Season 1, Episode 8, the most iconic moment in early reality TV history, if not maybe the most iconic moment in my life, period.
In your
And
life,
so,
period.
yeah, and so please tune into that live here on the Recap Kickback YouTube page, youtube.com/@recapkickback. Subscribe to the podcast and all that good stuff. What about you, Jenny?
Listen, just continuing through the snake, and I'll pop on to some more Big Brother 20, the aforementioned Big Brother 24 or 24 27 mastermind coverage. And other than that, you can find me on social media at Jenny Autumn. I just want to give a big shout out to everyone who's continued with this coverage, despite the little breaks here and there. Love hearing your thoughts about the show and the episode. Thanks for giving us love to the podcast. And we'll be back next week with episode 7 recap. And until then, have a good one. Bye.
Peace.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.